Grind, that's all I know. Find the time to quit, oh no matter good or bad, still I go. I never crack under pressure, I can't be broke. Sun up to the sun down, map it out, now run it down. Mayweather, I never lose. I be making these money moves. Sun up to the sun down, map it out, now run it down. Mayweather, I never lose. I be making these money moves.
Bulletproof Mafia. What's up? All right, I'm going to figure that out. I almost, so inside of Money Moves, I was like, what's up, everybody? You're on Money Moves, and I'm Michael Munsterman. And now it's like, what's up, everybody? You're on the Bulletproof Mafia, and I'm Michael Munsterman. Maybe I just like that still. So anyway, doesn't matter because I botched it this time. I'm going to move on. But we're talking about something here, and I had a couple people ask me some things today. And so basically today's podcast, I'm just going to go through some questions that I was asked throughout the course of my day, and I want to share with you some of the answers. One of them happened just a minute ago. And Phil and I said, Phil, like, do you want to jump on the air and let's talk about this thing we're discussing? And so what we're discussing is the quality of my set. Like, how does my set compare to some of the other big podcast names out there? The Gary V's, the London Reels, some of the bigger names in podcasting that when you go watch their podcasts, you're like, holy shit, like that's a badass set, right? And with Gary V's, like he hasn't invested a lot of money in this. It's just like his office so maybe he's invested a lot of money in it, like a bunch of sports memorabilia and stuff from his travels and his businesses on the back wall. And it's a cool look. But here, and Phil, for anybody who jumps over to YouTube, you're going to get to see this video, and I would love for you to comment and tell us what you think. We're going to name this video Questions of the Day. And so you can jump on there, actually, we'll come up with a better name, but I'll put a link to it in the description so that you can jump over and check out the video and see. But I want you, Phil, to take the camera, and I want you to look over at this white screen on the back wall. So Phil's turning the camera right now so he can show you. So on the back wall of one of the walls, so we built basically a three-sided set. And we've got colored lighting, and we've got a bunch of things that I wanted to have, that are important or mean something to me, a bunch of books that I've read that have really influenced me as an entrepreneur, a couple other things or like little pieces from my travels, whatever. And then behind me on another wall is a tin wall. And so if you ever look at it, like I've got this really cool like light thing and anyway, lamp, whatever. But so I'm like, we're talking about, he's like, look, I feel like this podcast set looks amazing. I don't know why you don't have the white background. I'm like, because why would you have a projector screen on your back wall, but it's not lit up? You don't have anything projecting on it. And we're talking about it back and forth. And he's like, well, I'm like, hey dude, why don't you jump on the air and we'll talk about it on the air? And he's like, well, I don't know that really fits the vibe of your podcast. Do you think it does? And I'm like, let's go on the air right now. We're going to talk about it. So here's why I did that. I did that because this place is a place where we're going to talk about absolutely anything. I'm not putting any kind of a cap on any conversation because at the end of the day, it's about bulletproofing your mindset. And the mafia bit is just having a loyalty to your mission, to your family, and to yourself. Like it's about like being in that mafia presence is just about you and your role inside of the family or the familia. Look it up. Like it's an interesting definition. So how can I take this conversation of does this fit into my messaging and make it a message? And one of the things that I do is I'll take a subject like this. How does this subject fit into my podcast? Well, what started the entire conversation is we're sharpening each other for the product that we're delivering to the marketplace. The conversation we're actually having is our set the best looking set for a podcast? Could it be better? Is there something else that we could do to make it better? Because I think one of the things that you have to be willing to do in every area of your life is constantly you have to sharpen the blade. You have to have the ability to recognize that something's dulling or something's not sharp enough or something's not good enough. And you have to be willing to do the work. Like every little bit, you're going to chip at it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until it's the perfect razor sharp edge inside of your marketplace so that it can cut through all the noise and you can deliver your product to the market, whatever it is. For me, the product is like this bulletproof mindset. For me, it's adding value to the lives of entrepreneurs or people who are interested in entrepreneurship. And so this was like spur of the moment. I want to jump on here because again, like And I've said it a couple times in the last few episodes. If that's not your vibe, like I'm not the right guy for you to listen to, because this is an unapologetic space where we can talk about whatever we want. Right? That's what it is. Now, beyond that, I'm going to give you guys just a cool little update. So yesterday, I told you about the lady. I think she might have just came back into the dealership. So my studio, I ripped out one of our bays. We had a detail bay, it's basically like this great big garage. We gutted it. We built a studio. This studio sits inside of the dealership. And I just heard a door slam and somebody be loud. But basically this morning I called my attorney and I talked to my attorney about the situation, and I said, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give this lady half her money back because it's gonna cost me more than the other half to make this vehicle lot ready again. And if you haven't listened to this episode, listen to it from yesterday because it was fire. The title of the episode is You're a Liar and I'm the Bad Guy. So check it out. It's definitely worth listening to. It's definitely a more fired up version of me. And then the other question that kind of rocked me today, it was another conversation that I had with a guy. So inside of delivering the product of Entrepreneur Secrets to the marketplace, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I did was that I built a really strong ass team. Like I want to be surrounded by the best of the best of the best. Like you'll hear me talk in other episodes where I talk about like the attorneys and accountants and everybody else who you need to surround yourself with to leverage your success in business. And so we started interviewing and auditing people, and we started having conversations. Are you good with Facebook? Are you good with this? Are you good with that? Are you good with this? And I like weaved my way in and out of a lot of different conversations, and I landed on the phone with the guy who's responsible for over like something crazy, like 200 million follows on Instagram across multiple accounts. And he's directly responsible for Facebook marketing to receive like the companies that he's represented have done $50 or $75 million in sales over the last 5 or 6 years. And that's not the goal. The goal is not the money, but that's just like money is a measuring stick. And so anyway, I got weaved in and out of different conversations. I got on the phone with a guy named Akbar Sheikh. And Akbar was a super fascinating guy who's had a ton of success in digital marketing. He sells online products. He's a freedom coach. And I got to visiting with him about myself and my business. And we were just going to talk for a few minutes. We ended up talking for almost an hour. And I really genuinely appreciate this guy for taking the time to chat with me. But he asked me a question. And the question was this. While I have you on the phone, he said, I'm just curious. If one of your children came to you on your deathbed and they said, Dad, what's the one bit of advice that you would give me about bulletproofing your mindset? What's the one piece of advice you would give me to take into my journey into this world? I was like, wow, dude, that's a deep question to ask somebody. Like, take whatever you do for a living. What's the one bit of advice that you would give one of your children about that conversation? And I got to thinking about it. And one of the pillar things that I think about often are like what makes somebody happy. And ultimately it's a simple conversation, right? The thing that'll make you the happiest is whenever you find out what your passion is, where your skill sets lie, and where do those intersect. So at that point where your passions and your skill sets come to a crossing, that exact intersection is where you find peace, where you find happiness, where you find accomplishment. Everything that you could possibly want out of this world is found whenever you're passionate about helping somebody fill a need and your skill set allows you to do it. Gary Vee the other day said, how much is a basketball worth? And I love this conversation because I've been thinking about Facebook marketing and I'm like, I can figure out Facebook. I don't need to hire somebody. And I've really been torn on this decision of who I'm gonna hire. And I'm looking at several agencies and I'm thinking, do I want to hire an agency or do I want to hire a person? And so I'm like, this has been in the forefront of my mind. And this gentleman that I was talking to today was a reference for one of the agency guys. But that question, it hit like it was so hard. And so this has been in the forefront of my mind. Anyway, Gary said, how much is a basketball worth? Like $20, right? $25. But how much is a basketball worth to LeBron James? $1 billion. How much is Facebook marketing worth? Well, to most people, it's not worth much. Facebook is entertainment. But in the hands of the right person, it's worth 200 million followers and $50 or $75 million in sales. To the right person, it's the difference between being trapped in your dead-end job and freedom. And this guy's asking me, what's the bit of advice that I would give? And so I said, look, I have to preface what I'm about to say with this. God is my first answer. My relationship with God through Christ, like that to me is that's the number one bulletproof mindset thing for me. Followed second and closely, meditation. My ability to find peace in my mind. I said, but all of that just to say that mental clarity and that stability and that focus on like the journey. Because for me, my faith anchors me in that inside that journey. Where do I want to go? And you guys have heard me, right? Like I don't confine inside of the lines very well of one conversation or another, but certainly inside of that, I know that there are a lot of Christians that struggle with me. There are a lot of religious people who struggle with me because of my language. And I just decided just this last year to unapologetically be myself. I'm going to operate inside the power of me for the best cause that I possibly can. And that's delivering the message that's on my heart to go to the world. But that anchoring helps me. And finding that peace in my heart helps me. And then finding the quiet and creating space in my mind through meditation helps me. So that when I step into my day, I can think, okay, today, am I operating inside of my gifts or my talents? And am I focused on finding that passion mark? That space where those two things come together. And so my question for you is, how can you take those bits of information and apply them to your life? Do you know where that intersection is for you? Where your skill sets and your passions align? Because look, there are people who are really talented at some things, like amazing at them. Like I could be a world-class crocheter. Like I make the best Afghans you've ever seen. It's not true. But I'm not passionate about it. So even though I have the skill set, I don't have the passion. I regularly hound Phil about me recording something in the form of something musical. Like I want to rap or I want to, like, let's do a collaboration. Let's do something. And Phil's like, no, I get you're crazy passionate about this, but you suck. And I'm like, damn it, man. I'm a good rapper probably, maybe, if the music's loud enough and you can't hear my voice. And I know a lot of you guys are the same way, right? You turn it up as loud as you can so you can't hear yourself. But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. My point to all this is in your life, where are you? Are you operating inside of your passions? Are you operating inside of your gifts? Because if you're not living the best version of your life. And that's the advice I'd give my daughters. Savvy? I be making these